Well, there's been another huge blockbuster trade that has happened in the NFL, and Deshaun Watson is officially on the move. After reports came out that Deshaun Watson told the Browns that they are no longer in the running, the Browns ended up being the team that he waived his no-trade clause for, and he has officially been moved to the Cleveland Browns. The compensation in this trade is that the Browns get Deshaun Watson and a 5th-round pick, and the Houston Texans get in return 3 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, and a 4th-round pick. And with this trade, every dollar of Deshaun Watson's new 5-year, $230 million deal is guaranteed, setting an NFL record for highest guaranteed money given to any player. Yo, what's up, world? APW Sports signing in. And before I get into my thoughts on the entire Deshaun Watson trade, make sure you guys leave this video a like, as that always helps the channel to grow and it beats the YouTube algorithm. And click the subscribe button and notification bell so you will not miss any other videos that I post on this channel. But let's talk about this blockbuster trade. Without further ado, let's dive into it.
I'm striving to get rich. That's why I almost went 2 years without buying shoes and fits. Things change now. My mom hearing me wear my music and she look a little prouder.
First, I am going to look at this trade from the perspective of the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans get a ton of draft assets back for Deshaun Watson. They get Deshaun Watson out of the door, a quarterback who I believe is still, when healthy and when able to play, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. And you get a ton of draft assets back to further drive your rebuild. Now, the problem with this trade, I think, with the Houston Texans is that Baker Mayfield was not included in this trade. Because to be honest with you guys, I would have thought that any trade that would have happened with the Cleveland Browns and the Houston Texans would have included Baker Mayfield, and the Texans would have wanted Baker Mayfield back just so they can have that quarterback. But in another aspect, you can look at this deal and see why the Texans did not include Baker Mayfield, because he is up for a contract extension. And to be honest, he is not going to want to be in a situation in Houston where they are in a rebuild. So the Houston Texans can start young at quarterback and start to build this franchise from the ground up. And they no longer have the cloud of the Deshaun Watson situation holding over their franchise. Now, last season, they had Davis Mills and Tyrod Taylor. Davis Mills did show some promise with them, but I don't think the Texans franchise may be sold that he could be the quarterback of their future. And they may draft a quarterback, they may not draft a quarterback within the next year or two. So this Houston Texans team is going in a total rebuild. They've given up a ton of picks in the Bill O'Brien era. When they start to acquire some of those picks back in this trade, you go from Bill O'Brien as coach to David Culley last year, and now you have Lovie Smith, who is coming into a franchise that is in the midst of a total rebuild. So the Houston Texans, even in the AFC South, that I believe is going to take a step back, because the Tennessee Titans are still a little bit in flux in my opinion. The Indianapolis Colts at this point are still looking for a quarterback. And you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, even though they've thrown a ton of money in free agency, you still have to wait and see how that entire Jacksonville Jaguars team is going to play out. So in the end of the day, I still see the Houston Texans at the bottom of the division, no matter what moves they make, because they are in a midst of a total rebuild. You acquire assets to help build your team for the future. And Lovie Smith, he should not be judged on year one, because this team, as it stands right now, is still at the bottom of the league. So even though it's a little bit surprising that Baker Mayfield was not included in this deal, I see where the Houston Texans franchise is going. They are building this roster for the future. Now, switching gears and looking at this trade from the Cleveland Browns perspective, they get an upgrade at quarterback. Baker Mayfield has been solid for this Cleveland Browns organization, including getting them their first playoff victory in what seems like an eternity back in 2020, but this team took a step back. Even though Baker Mayfield had a ton of injuries last year, this team gets a huge upgrade at quarterback with Deshaun Watson. You get Deshaun Watson to pair with Kareem Hunt, with Nick Chubb. You get him to pair with Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Njoku, and you get him to pair with the newly acquired Amari Cooper. You still have a defense on the Cleveland Browns side led by Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett. This Cleveland Browns team gets themselves right back into contention in the AFC North with the acquisition of Deshaun Watson. Of course, in Deshaun Watson, you get a guy who is athletic, you get a guy who can throw the ball deep down the field, you get a guy who can make plays out of nothing. And the Browns missed a little bit of that last year, even with Baker Mayfield and the injuries that he dealt with. This Cleveland Browns team took a step back last year, and getting Deshaun Watson in the fold upgrades this team dramatically. Now, you do get that huge 5-year, $203 fully guaranteed contract with Deshaun Watson, but I believe he is worth every penny that the Browns are going to pay him, especially them not living up to expectations last year and them still having a good core of their roster still intact. You have one of the better offensive lines in Cleveland, even though they did release J.C. Tretter, but I still believe this Cleveland Browns team just elevated themselves in the AFC North because you have a Pittsburgh team that we are still in the post-Ben Roethlisberger era. They signed Mitch Trubisky, but we are going to wait and see how that plays out. You have the Ravens, who still need to address some holes at wide receiver. And you do have the Cincinnati Bengals in that division, which I think they are still the cream of the crop, in my opinion, in that division. But the Cleveland Browns elevated themselves with this Deshaun Watson trade and get themselves right back into contention for possibly winning that division. Now, you bring Deshaun Watson, a different element, into that Browns offense with Kevin Stefanski, who has been getting the most out of Baker Mayfield when he can and has been committed to running the football. You add an element of Deshaun Watson's legs and his ability to throw the ball deep down the field and his good decision making. This takes the Browns team up another level. Now, the Browns do have a problem on their hands, as Baker Mayfield during this whole process has requested a trade to get out of Cleveland, and things are still waiting to play out what this Browns team can get back for Baker Mayfield. So even though this Browns team gave up a ton of assets to get Deshaun Watson to Cleveland, they can get some assets in return in a Baker Mayfield deal. So even though they give up those assets for Deshaun Watson, this team can still bring some extra pieces in a Baker Mayfield potential trade, and even still get this team younger at certain positions, maybe linebacker, get some interior guys up front in your defensive front, address a little bit of the offensive line with J.C. Tretter now being gone. But this Cleveland Browns team just took a huge step up with the Deshaun Watson trade, and could they possibly be Super Bowl contenders? I believe they can if Deshaun Watson is going to play this year. We still have to wait until all the civil suits point out. But with Deshaun Watson on the field and the AFC is starting to be absolutely loaded, the Cleveland Browns just put their names right up there with the other teams in the AFC, like the Chiefs, like the Chargers, like the Broncos, in contention in that AFC. So I grade this trade from the Browns. They get an A because they get Deshaun Watson and they still can gather more assets for Baker Mayfield. For the Texans, I give this trade a bit of a B because you would have thought Baker Mayfield would have been included in this deal, but they do get a ton of draft assets to help them on their rebuild going forward. So they get a B in my opinion. But those are just my thoughts on this entire Deshaun Watson trade. Make sure you guys leave this video a like, as it always helps the channel to grow and beat the YouTube algorithm. Comment your thoughts down below, and as always, click that subscribe button and notification bell so you will not miss a single video. But I am APW Sports signing out. Make sure you guys stay safe, have a great and excellent day, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.